Alright guys, here's a quick rundown of the 20 comics that Punisher appeared in before he got his own series. I'm going to see how fast I can do this. I think I'm going to go in depth, maybe, who knows when, but like, I'd like to reread all these. You know, there's only 20, so it's kind of cool. And I like to give more in-depth, kind of history of what's happening around the time of the comics. And I'm not going to be able to do that with this many, but I've already made this video like a bunch of times and my phone keeps like freezing for some reason. But anyway, so here we go. Starts in 1974, February date. I'm just going to go by dates of the on the cover for these. I usually like to do on sale date, but that'll go better with the videos where I'm like, you know, showing what else is going on back in the day when it first appeared. 74, that was a pretty good time in comics. I mean, you got this guy, and I'll just show a couple pictures in here. You know, I definitely want to go in more in depth on these at some point, because there's a lot of like cool stuff and some funny stuff in these books. Is that a stamp? No. But you know, I'm not even gonna go into like who drew it, because it's just gonna take too long. But and you know, my phone might freeze, so if that happens again, ooh. Anyway, there's this one. So yeah, what I was saying about that time period was pretty cool. There's a lot of neat stuff. So like on the shelves, you know, when you're seeing that, not too far off, you got Starlin's like awesome run on the Starlin's just, he's just going off the charts at this point. It's like the beginning of, well, I'd say he's about halfway through, I say, his like amazing run, but between Captain Marvel 26 until the end of the Warlock series. That was just an amazing run. I mean, this art, I mean, what a treat back then. I mean, you could look at this, it's amazing. You know, compared, it's just very sophisticated. It's got so much detail. Look at that. Compare. I mean, this guy, Ross, what is this? Ross Andrew? He's not bad or anything, but I mean, this is the hotness. Look at that. There's so much. Guy. Really good. Thanos. Here's a value stamp. So that was going on. What else happened? Iron Fist was created. We had this one a few months. Let's see, that was in February. So then he appeared again. Same artist, same writer too, Gary Conway. And of course, in that year, you know, November, that guy was made. Then we have, we're in 75 yet? Yeah, this is 75. So this is his third appearance, Punisher's third appearance. Same guys drawing him and writing him, which I thought was pretty interesting. You know, maybe they really believed in him and kept driving him, because he did appear a lot in those first few years. Although then, they put him in the magazine. This is still, this is 75, sorry. I don't know if I said 76 or what. But this is 75, July 75. I really like the artwork in this. This guy's really good. This is a different artist than the others. This is, same writer. Artist Tony Duzinga. Whoa. Dinuzu. Alright, I'm not I'm too, like, hyped up for that right now. This book is awesome, though, because it has his origin story. So it's neat that the original writer followed through and went with that, you know. That's pretty cool. Then, oh, and you know what else was happening in that right around on the stands? Yes. You had this. Mine's copy's pretty beat up. But, so it was an interesting time. I'd like to compare it, see what's going on at DC. If I had to guess, oh boy, you know, I don't even know. I like this issue, but man. So then we have 70, let's see, they hit 76, another mag. I believe, what did the writer change? I think the writer changed. Come on. Yes, Archie Goodwin took over. Same artist as the one before. You know, I recently got this, so I can't really comment on it if it's good or not. I like the cover more than that one, I think. Not a big fan of the magazines, but, you know, those are cool. Those two are very cool. Then, let's see, what else happened? This is 76, right? Yeah, October. You had these two things on the shelves in the same month. Yes. Dark Phoenix. And, you know, X-Men were popular, hence Nightcrawler. This is actually, this 161 is actually a very early appearance of Wolverine. Pretty funny. Like, one of his first appearances outside of the X-Men. This, let's see who, Ross Andrew, so he's back. Len Wein, I believe he wrote a bunch of stuff for the Punisher. Jigsaw happens, I think, in the next issue. Oh boy, Punisher coming at you. Yes, Jigsaw. I believe this is his first appearance. I just saw the Netflix series. I thought it was really cool. He certainly didn't look like this. That if they got his eye like that, that would have been something. I think if they just did the eye, then it would have really felt like Jigsaw. Because the scarring on his face was, I don't know, believable in today's plastic surgery or whatever, how good they are. But something like that, he just looked a little too normal, I thought. So 76, right? So then 77, still going. You know, it was like every 10 issues or so, he was coming regular on Spider-Man. Len Wein, same artist. Wow, Ross Andrew. I don't have many Spider-Man issues from this time. Yeah, I mean, I read this a long time ago, but it's funny, when I flip through these, all you see is ads. Okay, so yeah, 77. Okay, so what was going on? Star Wars came out. I think it was in fall or summer. Actually, I don't know. I should know that. I love that movie. I mean, it's just weird. All that stuff happened before Star Wars. You know, when you think of comics, probably you think of, you know, just the same kind of pop culture stuff like Star Wars and stuff. I believe they were doing Star Wars comics at this time. There's a lot of really interesting stories about how they did that. Marvel got that, and Roy Thomas and all this stuff. Also, yeah. Oh, on the stand, same time, December. This X-Men 108 was another continuing chapter in the popularity of the X-Men, because John Byrne, who was very popular at the time, took over. And his artwork's just fantastic on these. Really, really great. at this point, whew, I think maybe Starling was done. Not sure. So then there was a little break. There wasn't much Punisher for 2 years or so, 3 years. And during that time, yeah, Byrne was super popular, but there was a young artist who was coming up, Frank Miller, right? And he was very important in the Punisher's continuing development. Very important. He did some of the best Punisher stuff, I thought, and really defined his character. He did this great cover. This is January 80. Too bad he didn't do the inside. Although I feel like Miller's cap just isn't the greatest. This Punisher is not the greatest. I wonder if that's their play on, like, make him look Italian. More Italian. I really don't know. But I love that cover. It's great. If only the gun wasn't so, like, sci-fi looking. Not sure what the deal is with that. So, yeah, Miller, and I believe Miller was actually said something to Byrne. And maybe it was a big joke or something, but he was like, I'm coming for you. As far as, like, popularity or something. Meanwhile, on Spider-Man, again, with the more appearances, okay, different guys now. Merv Wolfman, Keith Pollard. So the other Conway and Ween have moved on to other things. It's hard to even sign. Yeah, it's not bad. And actually, I didn't see who wrote this. Let's take a look. Mike Barr. Okay, yeah, new guys. So yeah, this is 80, so I say Empire Strikes Back came out. I like to try to think of these things in their place and time. It's fun for me. Look at that, the ROM toy came out. It's amazing how much momentum ROM got for not even having like a TV show or anything. And I think there was only one toy as well. I don't know. They stuck with it. Someone at Marvel really must have believed in ROM. Because it's hard to believe that he really had sales that were that good. Oh, look at that. Okay. Yep. Wolverine. First solo. Oh. Maybe it was his first solo cover, his first solo story. I mean, he's not really a solo story, but I need to reread this. This was an 80 as well. May, so a little bit after that. Yeah, they go together pretty well. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So Miller was doing Daredevil with, and he was under a guy named Roger McKenzie, was the writer. And apparently there's a lot of like drama stuff about it. You can find online. But one thing was for sure is that in 1980, I think November issue, the 167, which actually ended up being the last issue. Well, 166, I think, was Mackenzie's last issue. But originally, Mackenzie and Miller did this Child's Play. And this was a really, really awesome story. Great Punisher. I really felt like Punisher was... he was just done in Miller's like crime noir kind of feel, and I really enjoyed Miller's like fight scenes. But so the thing about this issue is this had some drug stuff going on in it. I can get more into that some other time, but the Comic Code was not happy about it. And like I said, this was November, slated to go out November 1980. as Daredevil 167, which if you look at that book now, you could see that it's a filler issue, but without Roger McKenzie, and apparently, it's really interesting, like either he got fired, or Miller didn't like him, or they used the delay, because they just had to shelf the issue until they brought it back. Miller redid a few things and brought it back, let's see, almost like a year and a half later or something in this. But I thought that was really interesting, because if you look at the Punisher, like, chronological appearances, these actually, and this is kind of all the same story, you know, like, you could actually find the original 167 cover online somewhere. It's not that great, really, but this is an excellent, and I think Miller rewrote some of it, but a lot of the pages from this one were actually from the original. But if you look at the chronology of the Punisher's appearances, they say that this comes out first. This is another great Miller, and Dennis O'Neil, I think, was his editor, and on Daredevil, they really liked each other, I guess, worked well. They had a lot of faith in Miller, who was just up and coming at the time. And a great Punisher story. But if you look chronologically, it says, like, this is the Punisher's, and it is. I mean, this hit the stands before those Daredevils. But Miller actually did those Daredevils before, well, the majority of those Daredevils before this came out. So I thought it was really interesting. I never knew that. Oh, I loved, this was really cool. This is not Punisher related, but I love this, just how strong is Spider-Man. And they just compared, like, the heavyweights for heavyweights. No, he's not in there. The heavyweights, super medium weights, there he is. And what do we got? Medium weights. I guess they're all medium weights. Wolverine. I don't know. It's hard to believe that Spider-Man has as much power as Silver Surfer, but Surfer should probably be up there, but maybe he was trapped on Earth at that time. So anyway, that happened. Then this came out. This came out in 81. Then this came out in 82. And just to keep track of where we are in the real world of pop culture, I guess, Return of the Jedi didn't even come out yet. So this was an amazing issue where, spoilers, someone dies. There is a few Punisher pages in this. So Punisher did Miller did this. This is new Punisher stuff, I believe. There's only a little bit. I think it shows him, like, breaking out of prison or something. Anyway, it's in there. It's brief. But I just wanted to include that for sure because, I mean, look how far Miller had come at this point in 1982. He was a force. I think Byrne had moved off of, I think he was doing Fantastic Four at this point. He quit X-Men for whatever reason. Those Miller books are amazing. So 83, okay, now 83. I thought this was interesting because, okay, Punisher does appear in this Marvel Universe, the first time they did those. And what I thought was interesting about this, because I wasn't going to include this, but I figured, what the hey, since I found this little tidbit. Well, it's a nice, cool Frank Miller illustration, so that's kind of neat. But, and I gotta read those books up until this point, because if this is true, I'm surprised. But they're saying they do not know his identity. Like, they don't say Frank Castle. Identity Secret. I found that very interesting. 83. I mean, was around almost 10 years at this point. But I feel like they must have called him Frank Castle at that point. If not, it's interesting that I mean, I wonder who developed that. Okay, so then, so yeah, 83, boy, a lot of stuff has happened at that point. You know, you didn't see the Punisher. Probably no one wanted to do the Punisher after they saw that awesome Daredevil run that Miller did. But he did appear in this. They brought him back. I think this just has him breaking out of prison. Yeah, he's back. And this is actually the last little run of, these are the last 3 solo Punisher, or not solo, but Punisher guest appearances until he gets his own series. So I found that interesting. Let's see what the Bill Mantlo. I wonder what the original writers of his origin and all that, you know, thought of this. But this was interesting. It showed him really kind of struggling and kind of going nuts, and he started, like, I guess killing, like, just anyone who broke the law, like jaywalkers or something. I mean, he was just going crazy. And I think they blamed it like he was on drugs. Someone drugged him in prison or something. He broke out of prison with the help of Boomerang, which I thought was funny. It'd be cool if he got rid of Boomerang, and he might have. I don't know. But I think you know, Spider-Man captures him, and he goes back to jail. They do play up, they kind of retell his origin, which might have been actually the first time they really talked about his origin in the actual comics, as opposed to that one time in the magazine. You know, I wonder if Miller addressed that. But I liked, I don't know if he said it in this one, but he's like, I don't mind going to prison. There's lots of people for me to get rid of in there. Anyway, they sentenced him to jail, I believe. But 83 was crazy comic stuff, great stuff going on. You got Simonson started his epic Thor run. And this is of note, right? This guy was getting pretty popular on Captain America. Mike Zeck, this artist. And I think a year from that, in 84, he had some amazing art and covers on Secret Wars. And he did a lot of great covers, a lot for G.I. Joe. You know, I recently saw this, or listened to this podcast where they were talking about the Punisher Zeck collector, and he was buying, got to buy these covers around this issue of G.I. Joe original art for like $50 each. It was amazing. It was crazy. I don't know. It just blows my mind how cheap that stuff was. Obviously, you know, this cover would be, ooh, I mean, at least 6,000, maybe up to 10, you know, based on who, depends on who had the most nostalgia for it, right? He did this, but he apparently didn't like his Secret Wars interior art. He felt, I think, a little rushed. So he was happy to get back on his own series, and I thought he really defined the Punisher. I mean, his Punisher, you know, sometimes looks a little goofy, like right there, but this and Miller's were like the Punisher. I mean, for me, it was like so awesome. Really great artwork. Zeck is great. He doesn't look like an old man anymore. He looks like just a crazy badass. Great prison scene. Maybe probably inspiration for that scene in Daredevil season 2, maybe. Jigsaw looks pretty awesome in this. Look at that, Frank Castle. No one goes near him. Oh yeah. Speaking of weightlifting, man, there's a fight scene in the new Punisher series in a weight room that was just so Punisher. If you like the Punisher, you're gonna love that. Mike Zeck, great guy, very nice. I met him in the 90s. Super nice signatures. Yeah, he signed both those. So that was that up until, and of course, right around that time, Miller kind of blew it out of the water. And if people thought he was awesome and big from Daredevil, well, yeah, maybe my favorite comic of all time. And then, yeah, Zeck did some more. It's kind of sad. I think they talked about it maybe in the podcast. Actually, I don't know where I read it, but they said, I was reading that he, through some mess up, they were like already late on these issues. And Mike Zeck had to like super hurry up, and he couldn't keep up. And so they actually had to get a fill-in artist for the last issue. And it's kind of this weird thing, like, look at this. So, like, 4-issue series, 5-issue series, 4. It's like, what? Make up your mind. At least the 5 had a 5-issue. And number 1 was a 4-issue. And this was a double one. I mean, geez, give Mike Zeck a break. But he quit and couldn't do number 5. And apparently the writer quit as well because he was mad about that. Stephen Grant. Plot here. So anyway, and then I did enjoy after this some of Jim Lee's Punisher, and here in the 90s, oh, he was just more popular than ever. But yeah, Jim Lee had a nice Punisher. I felt like it was kind of a cross of the good things between the Miller-looking Punisher and the Zeck. Boy, this issue was highly awaited. And I guess I'll move on to the last thing. I did think it was interesting that in the 70s, apparently there was a lot of rise in crime, right? And there was like Taxi Driver, and there were films that kind of Bronson's Dirty, and then there was Dirty Harry. Like there was all kinds of like kind of fight crime kind of movies, and apparently crime was pretty bad in New York City too, like showcased, I guess, in New York City. But I read that in the 90s, crime went back up again. So apparently it went down in between here and here. But I found that interesting that, you know, Punisher was pretty popular in the 70s. And then as crime went down in the 80s, a little less maybe, but super popular at this point. As a teenager, early teen, I really enjoyed Punisher. Anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. My phone didn't freeze, so hopefully I'll be making more videos soon. All right, take it easy.